leases. In leases, there are two things we have. One, no, you have just gone very advanced. I am at a very basic level. Hmm? One is asset. Very good. How did you know? Next one you tell. Party. In parties also you have two. No, I will not use technical terms. I am a very, very simple man. So, I will never use technical terms. Owner and user. Now we will just learn the technical name through which we will call owners. Lessor, user, like consignor, consignee, lessor, right? Assets are taken into two different forms of leases. What are those? Assets are taken for two different forms of contracts. One is operating lease, finance lease. Lease means rental. We have two different types of lease. They are, what are those? Operating and finance. How do you differentiate between the two? Operating lease, it is other than finance lease. So, what is finance lease? You can say other than operating lease. So, what is finance lease? Hmm? Where risk and reward incident to the risk and reward incident to the ownership is transferred to that is in case of any default he will have the right to repossess. For that purpose he will have here So lessor will continue to be the owner, and in no case he will have any intention to give the ownership to lessee. The ownership to the lessee, correct. Okay. Now let us just briefly recall two things we have taken up for discussion. What are the two things? Asset and the party. Parties are two. They are owner and user. Owner is referred to as user. Okay. The asset that we were talking about is given for lease, that can be given or that can branch out into two types. What are the two types? Operating lease and finance lease. What is the difference between operating lease and finance lease? Generally, in a layman's language, I would say operating lease is for a brief period. Finance lease is for a longer period. Generally, I'm just talking about, of course, technicalities I'm not taking for discussion, just to bring people to the negotiating table, as how government is making promises and bringing them to negotiating table. Then later on they will disappoint. But in our case, it is not like that. We will bring people for understanding, then we will clarify. What is that we will be doing now? What is the difference between the two? One is temporary, the other one is permanent, is what I told. Do we have any similarity between the two? Operating lease and finance lease. Do you have any similarity? This is not for fun, I am telling. Lease is the common term between the two. Operating lease, finance. Lease is common for both. What do you mean by lease? Lease is common between the two. What is, or what do you understand from the term called lease? Lease, in which the lessor allows assets to be used. Lessor allows assets to be used or a term, or a term for what? For a payment or series of payments. Are you understanding? What is a lease? Lease in which lessor allows asset to be used by the lessee, of course, for a term, for a payment or series of payments. This payment who will receive? Who will pay? That I have not written, but you have got to understand. Are you understanding? One kindly make note. A lease in which lessor allows the assets to be used for a term, for a payment or series of payments.